episode of Candid Moments. As a my next guest, as a host of a radio morning show for most of his 30 years in broadcasting, Scott has turned his skills into writing compelling near future visions full of human potential and a sense of wonder. Scott's science fiction thriller, The Primus Labyrinth, has been described as mind-bending and perfect for filling the void left behind the fans of Michael Crichton. Please help me welcome Scott Overton to the microphone. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Candice. It's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Thanks for inviting me.
This is so nice. Thanks for being with me. I think we met in person at the Sudbury Writers Guild years ago.
It might be that. I mean, we've met a few times, but, specific places I don't remember. It's too long, It's been a long time.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm so excited to talk about your writing. But first, I'd like to ask you, what are 3 things that you are grateful for today?
3 things that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for where I live. I live on an island in a lake near Sudbury, and it's just the most beautiful place to spend a pandemic. So that's great. I don't want to go into details, but it is a beautiful spot. So I'm always grateful, especially when the weather's this good.
Oh, good. I live on the lake too in Sudbury, and it's so peaceful. It is a bird sanctuary here. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we have birds. We have, everything, snakes, beavers, loons. Yeah, it's wonderful.
The first time I saw a muskrat here, I thought it was a beaver, but it wasn't. They're kind of cute. Not as cute as an otter. What else are you grateful for?
Well, I'm always grateful for my wife. My wife and I live here now, and we have 4 wonderful adult children with 7 terrific grandkids who are probably going to spend a lot of the summer with us. So that's a lot to be grateful for.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm grateful for the sun, hair product, and this interview.
Thank you.
So for Christmas, it was a beautiful stocking stuffer. Thank you for the idea, Scott. You don't know that I bought Mom and my 2 sisters this book. So Mom lent it to me because I didn't buy myself a copy. So Strange Sudbury Stories with Sean Costello, Mark Leslie, and Scott Overton. I don't know Scott, but I do know Sean, and I do know you. What inspired you guys to collaborate on this? It was such a fun book to read.
Well, Mark Leslie Lefebvre is his full name, is a Levack native. He doesn't live in the Sudbury area anymore, but he has strong connections here and a strong fan base here. And he writes a lot of different things that, would verge on horror, I suppose. You can get an example, certainly with his 2 stories in that book. But he's just a powerhouse and a go-getter and really good at marketing. And he came up with the idea of collaborating on this book. He is both of us, Mark and I, consider Sean Costello to be mentors of ours. You must know Sean's writing. He's very well known in Sudbury, a terrific writer. And he helped both of us when it came to learning our craft of writing. So Mark came up with the idea of a couple of stories from each of us to put in a collection for Sudbury fans particularly, which is why it's called Strange Sudbury Stories, although they're not all based there. So that was how it came about. He did the whole thing and we just contributed stories.
That's wonderful. I had taken a creative writing class after I graduated from a program at Cambrian, and I could tell that my writing was based on life. So where does you write fiction, correct?
Right.
Where does that inspiration come from?
Well, it can come from anywhere. Now, I write primarily science fiction and fantasy fiction. Fantasy, though, is not the dwarves and elves kind of J.R.R. Tolkien. I don't do that, but things that are a little bit more maybe magical or offbeat, not quite worldly. And the rest is science fiction. I've always been a science fiction fan, science fiction being more plausible. not all technology, but basically could happen. And that the inspiration for those stories just come from all over the place. Now, one of the stories in Strange Sudbury Stories, called Once Upon a Midnight,
Yeah.
is inspired by Edgar Allan Poe, as you can tell. And, it's just ideas come from all over the place. I can't, I think part of the reason I read science fiction or write science fiction is because I really can't think of story ideas just based on normal everyday life. Other people do a great job with that. But when I'm trying to come up with something that I hope other people haven't done, I just can't think of those ideas. So I think of strange things from the science fiction realm.
Okay. So when did this gift of writing, when was it discovered?
Oh my gosh. I was a kid, and when I first learned how to put words on paper, we'd have family gatherings, perhaps all the adults would be talking. I'd be sitting in a corner somewhere writing stories, and I'm talking really, really young. And so all in grade school, my teachers knew me for writing stories, and I always wanted to be an author. And my father was a great science fiction fan, so we had lots of great discussions around the dinner table about his favorite books. And I just naturally always wanted to be a science fiction writer. It took me quite a while to do that. The first book that I wrote, I should say, that really, got anywhere, that was any good, was called Dead Air. And it was based on the radio industry because I was a radio broadcaster for more than 25 years in the Sudbury area and longer than that. So Dead Air was based in the Sudbury, a fictional Sudbury radio industry, and is more of a mystery thriller. It's write what you know, right? So I did that for my first book, but after that, science fiction. Just always was going to be a writer one way or another. I just never assumed anything else.
Hmm. What are you writing right now?
Well, mostly I've been marketing a new book. I don't know if you're aware, but I just launched a new science fiction book just this past Tuesday. So we're doing this on a Thursday morning, and June 1st was when I launched this book called Naida. As a matter of fact, I'll show you the cover. And that one, I've been spending a lot of time into marketing and launching and planning all the things that go into that. There's quite a lot when it comes to actually getting these books out there and marketing them.
Right.
So this one,
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, we had a virtual launch the other day on
Okay.
the June 1st. And that one was hosted by Mark Leslie Lefebvre as well, because he's
Oh,
just a very generous guy and really knows his stuff when it comes to this. So we did a virtual book launch. With the COVID situation, you really can't do them in person.
okay.
And
So,
that book is partly based in Sudbury. A lot of it takes place in Sudbury, about a guy who discovers an alien artifact at the bottom of a Sudbury lake, just an isolated lake. And he thinks it's abandoned, but it isn't quite. And his body is entered by an alien being, which is there to stay. It gives him some special abilities, but it also has a personality and perhaps an agenda of its own.
interesting.
Mhm.
I'm excited to read it. Where are you selling it?
Well, I don't know when you're going to air this, but I'm going to be at the Sudbury Farmers Market on this Saturday, June 5th, which is open from 9 until 2. So I'll be there, and likely some other Saturdays in the future. I just haven't got that worked out yet. I have to get the books and have to be able to do that, get them from the printer and such. So
Awesome.
that's
I will be there. How much is the book?
well, the paperback is $22.95 if you buy it online. I'll probably sell it for $20 even or something like that at the market, because I don't want to make change for everybody. But
Right.
and I will have copies of Dead Air on hand with me, and hopefully, well, I don't know if I'll have any other copies of my other books on hand this time. They haven't arrived yet, unless they arrive in the next couple of days.
Okay, that's amazing. Who published, how did you go about publishing Naida?
Naida was published by me. I basically created my own publishing company, but so far I've only published my own books, and that was the intent. So I had to do everything. I hire a cover artist, I hire an editor to do a professional editing job on the book before I put it out, but then putting it together to look like a book, both in ebook format and paperback format, I have to do all that and then upload it to the different places that will distribute it and or sell it. And then marketing is all on me too. So essentially it's independently published, which just about anybody can do these days. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. The bad thing is that people don't put enough care into it because it is relatively easy. So there are a lot of bad books out there. They've got very bad grammar, spelling mistakes, typos, all
Uh,
these different things, and are just not put well together or written well necessarily. And the good books are hard to spot among all that. So
that's tough.
it's a kind of a tough one.
I published a book that had many mistakes in it and broke my heart. And I self-published through a big company, an American company, which was my fault.
Hmm.
But it was a learning curve.
Yes, that's the thing.
I have another friend in town who is publishing his own books too. They're children's stories. And I
Hmm.
didn't know that you could publish your own. Maybe I would have gone that route if I would have known better back then.
Well, you can, and there are lots of things, but it's a huge learning curve. There
Yeah,
is so much to learn to be able to do that because ebook um, retailers are all over. There are dozens and dozens of them. In fact, all over the world. And there's no reason that your ebooks can't reach all over the world, any audiences that are speaking your language that you're writing in. Um, and then there are a few different services that will take your ebook files in one place, but distribute them to the retailers. That saves you a lot of work rather than having to do it individually.
I
And
remember
then there
that.
are essentially two companies that will print the books on demand, if you know about print on demand, so
Yeah,
that the books don't get printed unless someone actually orders them from through a bookstore or from Amazon itself. Amazon is one of them. So you can go there, you can find the books and then order it, and they will print it off as needed and ship it out to you. There's another company called Ingram, which is the biggest book distributor in the world, and they have a special arm for independent publishers like us. And they will also distribute them through bookstores, any kind of bookstores,
okay.
but the bookstores don't stock them.
Right. So do you, as an independent publisher, do you profit more on the book than
Then
you
if you
would if
were
you were to go with somebody else? You do.
absolutely, yeah.
Because
I mean, if you
Amazon takes a big percentage, correct?
they do, certainly they do, and all the bookstores do too.
Right.
It's a weird kind of a weird arrangement with the big companies because they immediately sort of say, well, what's your price going to be and what kind of discount are you offering us so that we can discount the book from that retail price and make it look like a bargain. It's weird. I mean, it's really weird. But if you were going with a big traditional publisher in the States, like a Penguin or Random House, one of the big companies,
I'm an
you as an
engager.
author would likely get 10% royalties from whatever price the book sells for.
Let's say a
10%.
$16 book.
Yeah, so you get $1.60 from each of those books if that's what it sells for. Now, if you were selling it yourself through print on demand, you published it yourself, odds are, it might cost you $6 or $7 for each book, plus possibly some shipping costs. And then your profit can be from there. If, maybe there's tax involved, maybe you're going to be discounting them yourself. I can tell you though, it doesn't pay to, for instance, for me to buy a whole bunch of boxes of books, have them shipped to me, and then give them to a local chapters store and have them sell them there. They will do that for local authors, but the amount of discount that they ask and demand really, it means I wouldn't be making any money off it. I can make money through them ordering the books print on demand. So that's such a strange system.
Okay. That and it's difficult. And I don't know. Can you see the lag with my voice?
A little bit.
Okay, I
Yeah,
see
am
the
I having
lag
a lot
with
of
your
lag?
voice too.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
but
in
there's
a kind
nothing.
of an iffy area of the world when it comes to a signal.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing really we can do about that. That's okay. Um, Tell me more about writing and what are you so proud that you have written and or published?
Well, I wrote some short fiction back in the day, didn't really sell anything. Then wrote Dead Air, and Dead Air was accepted for publication by Lawrence Stephen, your Scrivener Press, as they called it at the time. Scrivener Press in Sudbury is no longer around because Lawrence retired. But
Okay.
I was thrilled to have him accept that, and he published it. And it was the same kind of deal as with a bigger publisher. He found distribution for it. I made 10%, I think it was. And then when he retired, he very generously gave the materials back to me and all the rights back to me so I could publish it on my own and keep it in circulation. And then I wrote a lot of science fiction and fantasy stories and sold them to different markets, many Canadian magazines in particular, a few American online magazines, several anthologies, both sides of the border, and tried to build up a bit of an audience as a science fiction writer, and began writing science fiction books, novels. Now, the thing is, if you want a big traditional publishing contract,
Mhm.
you almost certainly have to have an agent. And
Yes.
finding an agent is very hard. Have you ever tried to do that?
No, I haven't. Somebody called me the other day and offered to sell a lot more of my books and gave me the whole marketing pitch
Yeah.
through a book funnel. What is that and is it worth it?
Book Funnel is one of the services that you can pay for that helps you distribute books to people like contest winners or something. If you're doing a giveaway,
Okay.
or various different things that you want to do special copies sent out to someone to do reviews, to the media or those kinds of things. Book Funnel is a good service for doing that. You just have to learn about it. They're not a scam. There are many, many scams out there. There are many different companies that'll just take your money and do nothing for you. And BookFunnel is legitimate. But they offer very specific kinds of services. So you just have to read up on what they do deliver and see if that's something you need, depending on where you are in the writing and self-publishing process.
Okay.
They're a valid service anyway. So yeah, I
Okay. Well,
don't generally use
good to
them,
know.
but they are available for distributing prizes.
Okay. It's something I can look into, I
Yeah,
suppose. With
for
your late,
sure. Now I was talking about agents, and I was lucky enough, I thought, to get an agent, a very, very well-connected New York agency. And the senior agent there had represented the legends of science fiction. So I was over the moon,
okay.
thrilled. But she was not taking on new clients. She had a subordinate, an assistant who was just becoming an agent and wanted him to handle my book, which he did, but he was not able to find a contract for me, a book deal for me. And I don't know where the fault lay. It might have been industry. It might have been he didn't have the sales personality. It might have been that the book really wasn't that marketable, but he and his boss had certainly thought it was a powerful book and wanted it out there. So being an agent or having an agent isn't everything. And since then, I have not had an agent and decided I would, publish my own books. But in the meantime, while I was waiting for him to find a deal, I had written many books, about 9 science fiction manuscripts now, of which I've only published 2.
Oh, okay. So but you're still going to wait for that? Are you still going to pursue that route?
I am still looking for agents, but these days, whether it's just that they're so busy or I don't know what it is, they rarely even reply with a rejection. So it's it's very unfortunate, but it's extremely difficult. Even getting an agent's kind of like winning a lottery. And then again, as I say, it's no guarantee they'll get a book deal for you. So for now, I'm planning to bring out my books every 6 months or so, maybe 2 books a year until I've got them out there, just so people have lots to choose from. And if they like one of them, then they might buy the others.
That's wonderful. Are um are you reading a lot to your grandchildren?
I read to my grandkids all summer, and they're there for sure. Every night they want to read something, and whether it's Harry Potter or Sherlock Holmes or one of the other classics of children's literature, that's the kind of thing that I read to them.
Oh, that's so much fun. So when
Yeah.
the world goes back to normal, please, what is the first one or two or three things that you're so excited to do?
Well, I'm just really excited to have the family to have my family come up. We have a young granddaughter we haven't seen since 2 Christmases ago, and she's about 3 now, and that's really painful, that hurts. So we want to get the family all together. Now, people are gradually getting all their shots, their vaccinations. So we're hoping that we'll be able to spend time together this summer and lots of it, even if things aren't back, quote unquote, to normal. Who knows what normal is going to be in the future?
Yeah, that's true. If you could snap your fingers and things were back to normal, how grateful would you be doing something normal like we used to do, like go grocery shopping without a darn mask, or go out in a crowd with people and mix and mingle?
That's the thing, right? I mean, we have friends that live not far away from us at all. We haven't even seen them. We
Right.
text or email back and forth, and sometimes we'll visit at the dock and keep well apart. But mostly we just don't even do that. And so, just being able to gather together with friends would be so nice.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. I'm an extrovert and I need people and social interaction, and now I'm just meeting over Zoom. It's not the same, but I can still see their face. So it's one step closer to seeing them in person.
Yeah, and Christmas, we did Christmas over Zoom and FaceTime,
Yeah, we
which
did
was
that too. It was the first time my parents had used I forget which platform it was. It wasn't Zoom. It was one on the phone, Google Hangouts or something. And
Hmm.
it was fun. We could see my sister and her dog and her boyfriend. And it's not the same because there's a little nephew, and to see him open Santa's gifts and everything. But I am so
We're
excited to
all
go.
having,
Pardon?
yeah, we're all having a tough time. We're all having a tough time with that.
Hmm.
There are some advantages, like you mentioned the Sudbury Writers Guild,
Right.
and I live far enough away from town that I hadn't been able to make their meetings in person, but we've been meeting on Zoom, and I can make those meetings, so I'm able to do that. There are conferences that I've been able to participate in that I wouldn't have been able to go to in person. And although I couldn't do an in-person book launch, I did a virtual book launch the other day that I mentioned earlier. And that video is still up and will be on YouTube and on my Facebook page for, an indefinite period of time. So people can still watch it, even if they hadn't been able to make it live.
Wonderful. I hope to tag you in the post for today, and people can check out your website. And it's a little bit of marketing, right? Well, it's promotion because it's free. I am so grateful for
Yes,
spending
it
time
all
with you.
helps.
Pardon?
It all helps. I'm just grateful to have the opportunity of talking to anybody that might be interested in books, and I love them to check them out. My website is easy to remember, scottoverton.ca. So you go there and you can find out anything you need to know about the books.
Wonderful. I'm excited to come to the farmer's market and get a signed copy from the author himself.
I guarantee I'll autograph it for you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having a candid moment with me today, Scott.
Well, all the very best to you, Candace. It's nice to see you again, and you look well, and look after yourself. Keep healthy.
Thank you. You as well. And keep smiling. Scott Overton, everybody.